Yo, what is going on, everyone? My name is Nick, or The Notorious Fantasy, and in today's video, we're going to be going in-depth into my top 5 defenses to stream for week number 7. It honestly feels like the season just started, and now we are already in week number 7, but it's time to lock in and look deep, do a nice deep dive into my top 5 defenses to stream for this week. But before we could get on into things, I would like to ask that if you guys are new to the channel and you do end up enjoying today's video, then please make sure to hit that subscribe button down below. And while you're down there, whether you are new to the channel or not, please make sure that you do leave a like on today's video. It would help me out a ton. And if you do want to follow me on Twitter, please do so at NotoriousFNTSY. As well as I would like to ask if you have any questions about week number 7, or maybe you have a question about tonight's game in week number 6, please make sure you ask down below in the comment section. I love to talk to you guys down there. So without further ado, let's get into my week number 7 defenses to stream for the 2022 fantasy football season. We begin with my number 1 defense to be streaming on the week, the New England Patriots, going up against the Chicago Bears on Sunday. Currently, the Patriots defense is owned in 63% of leagues on Yahoo Fantasy. So if you play on ESPN, CBS, NFL, any of these other fantasy football platforms, then the ownership percentage for each of these defenses is going to be slightly different. And in some cases, there is actually a drastic difference based upon which website that you play on. So the Patriots defense last week up against the Cleveland Browns in Cleveland absolutely shut them down. 4 sacks, 2 interceptions, 2 fumble recoveries, and 15 points allowed, as well as holding 9-inch Nicholas Chubb to under 10 fantasy points. This Patriots defense is amazing up against the run, and the thing that the Chicago Bears offense does best is run the ball at a really high pace. And the problem is, since they run the ball so much, Justin Fields is basically fucking ice cold out there. He's not throwing the ball very often. So when he is asked to throw, he makes mistakes. And the Patriots defense is going to take advantage of any mistake that Justin Fields makes. Justin Fields is going to get fucking mauled. He is going to get destroyed by the New England Patriots defense. The Commanders defense up against the Chicago Bears in week number 6 in Chicago in that luxurious primetime game. They had 5 sacks, 1 interception, 1 fumble recovery, and 7 points allowed. And the Commanders defense is nowhere near the level, the super high level that the Patriots defense is on. This game might be nasty. The New England Patriots may beat the ever-living shit out of the Chicago Bears. And it doesn't even matter if Bailey Zappi or Mac Jones is under center, because this Patriots team is looking incredibly legit, and I feel as though the Patriots defense is going to wipe the floor with the Chicago Bears. I think they are very clearly the number 1 defense to be streaming for week number 7. My number 2 defense is the Miami Dolphins going up against the Pittsburgh Steelers in prime time on Sunday Night Football. The Miami Dolphins defense is currently owned in 16% of leagues on Yahoo Fantasy. Now, the Dolphins defense in week number 6 up against the Vikings, they had 3 sacks and 24 points allowed. Now, the Dolphins defense, as a Dolphins fan who watched that whole game, was pretty solid to begin the game. They were looking really good. Justin Jefferson was locked up. Obviously, if you look at the end of the game, Justin Jefferson had a pretty solid point total, but the Dolphins did a really good job early. And then things got out of hand late because the Dolphins offense was moving at snail's pace. There was a bunch of flags against the Dolphins offense, and things did not end up working out well. So the defense kind of falls apart. Dalvin Cook has that huge run up the middle. That had to have been like 40 or 50 or 60 yards, something crazy. The guy had a huge run to the house, saving his fantasy day because he was looking like a fucking disaster as well. But the Dolphins defense, ultimately, they don't have a good game. But this week, they get the Pittsburgh Steelers. Now, the Pittsburgh Steelers somehow beat the Tampa Bay Buccaneers on Sunday. Tom Brady looked like that divorce was getting to him, and he was smoking. He was like chain smoking cigs the night before. Buccaneers defense up against the Pittsburgh Steelers in Pittsburgh. 2 sacks, 20 points allowed, and the Bucs took that L. Now, Kenny Pickett ended up getting hurt in that game about halfway through. He got a concussion, so they had to go ahead and bring in, and Kissin' Titties Mitchell Trubisky comes in relief of Kenny Pickett. And if I'm being honest with you, I think based upon the eye test when I was watching the game, that was the best Mitch Trubisky has looked in a Steelers uniform. The first couple of weeks where he was the starter, It wasn't very good at all. It was honestly shocking how bad they looked. That offense was just awful. And then Pickett kind of brought a new spark to the offense. But last week, Pickett goes down, and then Trubisky brings that new spark to the offense. So I'm not too sure who's going to be playing as the starting quarterback on Sunday Night Football. I think it is pretty up in the air with concussions now in the NFL after that Tua injury. Who really knows when Kenny Pickett will be back? Who knows how severe the concussion was? So really, regardless, though, of the quarterback position, the Dolphins' defense is continuing to get a little bit more healthy with Tua Tagovailoa coming back, and seemingly, hopefully, the offense is able to keep them in the game so the defense doesn't fall asleep and die of fucking boredom because they're on the field the whole goddamn game because the offense isn't very good at all. Then hopefully that helps the defense out a ton, and hopefully the Miami Dolphins defense ends up being start-worthy this week, and a lot of people dropped them after the last couple of weeks, so that's why they are available in 16% of leagues. Next up, we got the Las Vegas Raiders going up against the Houston Texans at home in Viva Las Vegas. Currently, the Raiders defense is owned in 3% of leagues. The Raiders were on bye in week number 6 last week, so we have to go ahead and look towards week number 5 for their defensive performance. In week 5, they played up against the Kansas City Chiefs in Kansas City, and if anyone remembers that game, things did not go very well for the Raiders defense, but I don't think anyone expected the defense to really show up big in that game. 3 sacks and 30 points allowed. The Texans were also on bye last week, so we have to go ahead and look back at week number 5 to see how their opponent's defense played up against their offense. So the Jaguars went up against the Houston Texans in week number 5, having 1 sack and 13 points allowed. Now, the Jaguars defense has definitely been a big surprise this season. I'm sure most people going into the year did not think the Jacksonville Jaguars defense was very legit, but they have proved through the first 6 games of the season that they are a pretty solid defense. The Raiders, on the other hand, are pretty decent. They're pretty good at getting pressure, but I wouldn't say there's some upper echelon defense in the league, but you don't have to be an upper echelon defense in the league to shut down the Houston Texans offense. The giraffe himself, Davis Money Mills, is not this elite quarterback in the NFL. He's actually far from it. His job is probably gone by the time we're talking about things next season. So the Houston Texans offense, I mean, Dameon Pierce looks amazing. He looks electric. But besides that, they're just pretty meh. So I think the Las Vegas Raiders defense, again, while they aren't all that great, I think the Houston Texans defense the Houston Texans offense gets stomped out by that Las Vegas Raiders defense. Next up, we move to the Denver Broncos defense going up against the New York Jumbo Jets. 66% owned on Yahoo, but I did check a couple of other fantasy football platforms, and the Denver Broncos defense was actually owned significantly less on other platforms. So that's why I figured I would still mention them. The Broncos have yet to play tonight up against the LA Chargers, so we'll go ahead and look towards week 5 for their defensive stats, I assume. Now, again, assuming makes an ass out of you and me, but at the end of the day, do I really think that the Denver Broncos defense is going to shut down the Chargers offense? Probably not, but do I think that the Denver Broncos defense could shut down the Jets offense? 100%, because the Broncos defense is the sole bright spot of that team. The offense, maybe they turn it all around tonight, right? Maybe I look like an idiot if you're watching this tomorrow on Tuesday. You're thinking, oh, wow, Nick, Mr. Unlimited played really good in that game. Maybe that's what happens. But based upon what we've seen, the Broncos their defense is the only bright spot on this team. Things are looking extremely bad. The Broncos defense, week 5, up against Matt Ryan in prime time, up against the Indianapolis Colts. 6 sacks, 2 interceptions, and 12 points allowed. Now, the Packers did just get their shit pushed in by the Jets. Packers defense, 2 sacks, 21 points allowed. Now, I don't necessarily think it's the defense's fault that they lost that game. It's really on the fact that the Packers offense was just fucking terrible. It was so bad that after the game, Sauce Gardner put on a cheese hat and was celebrating like he's one of those cheesehead fuck Packer fans. And then Alan Lazard, I think it was, walked up behind him and like smacked the thing off of him. It was incredibly funny. The Jets really look like they've turned another leaf. It looks like they kept those receipts. Robert Saleh probably has multiple videos on his phone saved of me yelling about how the Jumbo Jets suck absolute cock. But hey, I've been wrong. The Jets look extremely good, and I will give them their credit. But again, the Broncos defense is, in my opinion, one of the better defenses in the NFL. So I think this Jets offense, especially if the Broncos can contain the run of Breece Hall, because if Breece Hall runs crazy, then the Jets could easily upset the Broncos. But if Breece Hall gets a little bit locked up like Akon, then I do really think that the Broncos defense is going to be uber successful in this game. But before we pivot into the final defense to stream in today's video, I would like to give you guys a quick word from our friends and our sponsor over at DraftKings Sportsbook. If you bet $5 on any sport pregame money line, you will get $200 in free bets if your team wins on DraftKings Sportsbook. Your bet has to win, like I said, so the best bet, in my opinion, is betting on the huge college football favorites money line. Again, the bet has to be money line and placed before the game, and you have to click on the link in the video description to activate this offer. Ohio State minus 12,500 up against Iowa. Ohio State should easily eviscerate Iowa. Iowa stands legitimately zero chance. Then we get the other ones that are still pretty safe if you think about it. Notre Dame minus 2,800 versus UNLV, and Oregon State minus 2,800 up against Colorado. So make sure you guys do go ahead and check that out. Sportsbooks don't love giving you guys free money, so make sure you take advantage of this offer right now. Again, link down below in the video description as well as in the pinned comment. So back on into things, we move to the final defense to be streaming for today's video, and that is the New York Jumbo Jets at the Denver Broncos, 3% owned. Now, again, while I talked about how the Denver Broncos defense is incredibly good, the Jets offense has been turned on Viagra style or Cialis style the last couple of weeks, and this Jets defense looks amazing. Quentin Williams is mauling the fucking offensive line like he's a bear. Sauce Gardner's picking people off. Now, he didn't technically get a pick last week up against the Green Bay Packers, or on Sunday, like yesterday, up against the Packers, but he did kind of almost get a pick. It ended up getting called back. The Jets defense up against Aaron Rodgers in Green Bay. 4 sacks, 1 fumble recovery, and 10 points allowed. I'm sure Aaron Rodgers needed to smoke a large amount of ayahuasca after he just got his ass spanked by the Jumbo Jets. And now this is a discussion that I was trying to have on Twitter. No one really talked to me on there. It was very sad, but at NotoriousFNTSY, if you want to follow me on there. Are the Jets legit? Like very legit? Like too legit to fucking quit? Or are the Packers just frauds? Aaron Frauders. To me, it's looking like it's a little bit of both. Like, maybe the Packers aren't those guys that maybe we thought they could be, even without Devontae Adams. And maybe the Jets are better than I thought they were going to be. So the Jets defense, again, up against the Packers in Lambeau. 4 sacks, 1 fumble recovery, and 10 points allowed. The Broncos have yet to play in their primetime extravaganza tonight up against the Chargers on Monday Night Football. So we got to go ahead and look towards Week 5 with a different primetime game up against the Colts. I still don't understand. The NFL scheduler should be fucking executed. Like with one of those, those things where they put you in like this wood thing and you put your head through and they drop that huge ass blade. That's the death that should be put to the NFL scheduler who scheduled Mr. Dangerous, Mr. Russell Wilson, Mr. Unlimited, the Danger Witch guy himself. Disgusting. This is disgusting. Colts defense, Week 5 up against Denver. 4 sacks, 2 interceptions, 9 points allowed. Russell Wilson looked like fucking Stevie Wonder or Ray Charles in the pocket trying to throw the ball at the end of the game when, I don't remember who it was might have been KJ Hamler, was legitimately wide open. Butt booty naked open. There was no one even remotely near the motherfucker, and Russell Wilson just soars it into the end zone. It made no sense. Russell Wilson looks awful. So the Jets defense, this game could be sneaky, extremely low scoring, a sneaky, very boring game, but hey, that's good for your defenses. So the Broncos and the Jets, I like both of their defenses. Again, to recap, the top 5 defenses to stream of week number 7, we got the New England Patriots, the Miami Dolphins, the Las Vegas Raiders, the Denver Broncos, as well as the New York Jumbo Jets. Thank you guys all so much for watching today's video. If you ended up enjoying, make sure that you hit that subscribe button down below, as well as hitting that like button. It would help me out a ton. If you do want to follow me on Twitter, please do so at NotoriousFNTSY. And if you have any questions about week number 7, or maybe you're watching this on Monday, you got some questions about week number 6 for tonight's game with Mr. Unlimited versus the LA Chargers, let me know down below in the comment section. I love you guys all so much. I hope you all have a great rest of your guys' day. And as always, good boy!